Nobody likes to see their favorite player get injured. It's very frustrating. Nobody likes to see their fantasy team not go. And you need someone to stand up and protect these players as best as the league can. That person is right to my right, the NFL Executive Vice President who oversees player health and safety, our old friend Jeff Miller. What's up, Jeff?
How you doing?
Welcome to my New York apartment.
You know the thing, when I was on the old show, everybody would applaud, and you felt like you were here, but now it's just you.
Yeah, if I applauded by myself,
that'd be weird, right? We'll try to make do with the vibe.
I'm glad that you came here. It's great to see you in the Schrager seat. Let's get right into it. The dynamic kickoff play.
Yes.
Great branding. It sounds dynamic as hell. Right. It was exciting to watch in the preseason. As someone who has their hands on all this, what was it like for you to watch it, and what's the expectation for the regular season?
Well, two main goals, really, right? Nobody was kicking the ball off and returning it.
Yeah.
We were at the 21.8% return rate last year. It was a dead play in the Super Bowl. It was 0 of 13 kicks returned. Who wants a ceremonial play?
Right.
And secondly, the injury rate on it was substantially higher than a runner pass play. 2 to 4 times. Concussion rates were up to 4 times as high. So the owners, the competition committee, looked at it and said, how do we get the kick back in the game? And credit to the special teams coaches, credit to the head coaches and the competition committee, they thought a little bit outside the box, as they say, right? And so we've now watched it in the preseason for a couple weeks. The return rates are up. Injury rates, a little bit early to tell, but the speeds on some of the collisions are down, which is what the concern was because there was so much space and speed before. So we're hoping, and to the dynamic part, there were almost 20 of them out past the 40-yard line, and there were about a third of them out past the 30. So the starting line has changed, and we're seeing some kicks. Don't run to the bathroom while the kickoff is going on is sort of the message, right?
And my take on this, Jeff, has always been these great special teams coach who now get really a new toy to play with. I think they're saving a lot of stuff for week one.
100%.
I mean, they've been planning for 6 months, and they're not going to show it in the preseason. You saw some returns. I think there's more returns coming, don't you?
It's got to be reverses. I'm waiting for the first throwback when you got 2 guys back there. I'm waiting for some schemes that we haven't thought about. That's sort of the point, is that why in the world would they show this in the preseason?
Right.
Right? They're getting used to it. People are sort of understanding it, understanding the risks and the opportunities. And then come week one, tune in. Let's see what happens.
Let's go. Release the hounds. The dynamic kickoff. You know what I thought was really jarring for me in a good way is I'm watching the Colts in the preseason, and Jonathan Taylor, the star running back, comes out wearing the Guardian cap.
He did.
With the Colts logo. We've seen it for years in practice. This was the first time we have seen in a game, on the field, multiple players wearing it. What was this like for you, Jeff, and can we expect to see more of this in the regular season?
Well, here's the background on it.
Yeah.
So we told players at certain position groups that they had to wear the Guardian cap in preseason practices, which is where we saw the highest incidence of head injury and concussion. So we've worn it the last couple of years, and as a result, we saw concussions drop in those positions 50%. So we expanded it to all positions this year, including receivers and safeties and corners. And we got to thinking, well, if we're mandating it for practices in the preseason when there's a lot of head contact, how could we say no if a player wanted to wear it?
Of course.
Which made sense. And so we allowed them to. I think each of the 3 weeks of preseason, we had 6 players wear it. So it's not a large number. It's a little jarring to take a look at. But the other part of this is we've asked players, because there's been a lot of helmet evolution, to think about moving into one of these other helmets that perform so well. And we've had any number of players wearing those in the preseason.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that, too, because I remember it was a year or two ago, and I tuned in, and I'm like, God, George Kittle's helmet is interesting.
Sure.
I love helmets, and I love gear. I think a lot of NFL fans do, and we started talking about it, that this is actually a brand-new helmet. Where are we at with helmet technology, and what can we expect to see on the field this year?
It's been a big year for helmets. The 5 best-performing helmets we've ever seen in the lab, which are tested against the sort of impacts players feel on field, were unveiled this year. And so we told the players as an incentive to get them in, if you wear one of those, you don't have to wear the Guardian cap, because those helmets are as good as, if not better than, a really well-performing helmet plus a Guardian cap.
Right.
So we're moving past that technology as is, as well as we've done with the Guardian cap. So more than, I guess, about 300 players tried it in the preseason. I don't know how many of those guys are going to wear it in the regular season or how many even made the roster. So we'll see in week one. But that's a huge adoption of new helmet technology in year one. Credit to the players for saying, you know what, I'm going to give this thing a try. Many of those are position specific for an offensive or defensive lineman who see the world very differently from a quarterback who also has some choices, and we're looking to expand that. So somebody on the offensive line is wearing a helmet that's tailored for what he is experiencing and hopefully, likely, preventing a lot of the injuries he would otherwise suffer.
I think it's great. I also think I'm a fan of the game, and you tune it in, you see this thing you've never seen before. It takes you back for a second and then immediately becomes normal. Whether it's the Guardian cap, whether it's the kickoff rule, Kittle's helmet, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Then we're on to the next play. It doesn't stick with you, and I think there's a lot more of that coming. We're also almost to week 1, Jeff, and we're going to see the Jets at the 49ers. There's going to be a lot of talk about Aaron Rodgers at Monday Night Football, and inevitably we will see the moment of him running out week 1 last year, getting injured on the turf at MetLife.
Yes.
What is the league doing to decrease lower extremity injuries, and to what extent does the field surface play a role in that?
Yeah, we spend a lot of time on the lower extremity stuff because our players are losing more time to hamstring strains and calf strains and adductors and Achilles and ACLs, all of those terrible time loss injuries, than anything else. And so we looked at, for example, the acclimation period, the beginning of training camp, where we saw the highest rate of injuries. And the clubs, as a result of some research we did, started tailoring the first few practices of the preseason into the first preseason game. And we saw a decrease last year of about 29% of those sorts of injuries, which led to, full of stats today, led to more than 700 games less that players lost last year as a result of injury.
700.
So 2 to 3 players per week, per game, were on the field that wouldn't have been the year before, which is remarkable. Those hamstring strains, we all know, huge pain in the neck, hard to get rid of, hard to shake. So anyway, early returns are that we are seeing the same savings this year as we saw last year, which is great. As it relates to surface, doing a ton of work with the Players Association, hand in glove on this. We have, in fact, developed new tools to measure surfaces, to better understand them. We want surfaces to be more consistent so that when a player steps on a field, whether it be grass or synthetic, he knows what it feels like, that there aren't 30 different ones across, which is hard for them to get used to. It also will help with the design of cleats if the cleat knows what the surface can do. And so we're going to look at all of these measurements that we're now going to incorporate this year. We're going to look at where the injuries occur and how they occur, try to correlate those things and better understand how surfaces play. And in a year or two, come up with a better design, better characteristics for the surface so that the players like it better, because we know that's been a complaint, and that it performs better from an injury perspective to keep some of those injuries down. Now, luckily, injuries on surfaces haven't really been that big of a difference between grass and synthetic the last year or so, almost none.
Yeah.
And ACLs and Achilles, the big injuries, haven't been a difference at all. Nevertheless, we need to lower the injuries overall, and so we need to make those surfaces better for everybody.
There's a lot of changes coming. You said in a year or two we could arrive in something different, and they're working on it. In the meantime, we have, I don't know, about 10 days, Jeff, till the opener. All the stuff you work on all off season, we all work on our own things, and we're excited in our own way for kickoff. What has you excited for the 2024 season?
Well, it's a lot of change. Isn't it remarkable? Like, that's one thing that's great about the NFL. We changed the rules. We changed the equipment.
It's true.
Right? We wholesale changes the kickoff that weren't here last year. It's hard to imagine that everybody's willing to be that innovative, but we are all to make the game better and safer. So I want to see what the special teams coaches have in their hip pocket. I cannot wait to see week 1. That's thing one. Thing 2 is we're playing a game in Brazil next week. Can you imagine?
I know. It's amazing.
It's amazing, right? The international fervor and the fans all around the world. In Europe, we've seen it in Germany and England. We're going to see it in Brazil. Who knows where we're going next? Like, the future, it's remarkable. And playing a game in Brazil next Friday, crazy, right?
You asked the question, who knows? Who does know? Where are we going
We're working
next?
on that, Kyle. We'll share with you when we figure it out. We'll figure it out soon enough.
Well, I remember the first London game. It was like it was on Mars. It was so cool.
And now it seems like just part of what we do. We have fans there, and a lot of them.
And we're in the Southern Hemisphere now, and we're going global. This is Jeff Meller. He does God's work. At some point, there's going to be a guy wearing a Guardian cap in a game, running back the dynamic kickoff. And there it is, that beautiful mosaic. Hello, Brazil. Good morning. The toilets flush the other way, and they love football down there. This is Jeff Miller. He's a long friend of the show, and always exciting things that he has to talk about. The season is coming. Jeff, it's great to see you.
Thanks, Kyle.
You got it.